Hi, this video is the final one on legislation, and I'm going to look at health and safety policy. So this question came up in paper 2 2018. I'll give you a second to read it. Okay, so the question was about employee legislation, and there's often a lot of confusion between health and safety and employee legislation. Employee protection legislation, and this question was about employee legislation. It did credit reference to health and safety laws because obviously they affect employees, but just to make it clear what the difference is and why health and safety law doesn't come under employee protection, health and safety law applies to any stakeholder that a business comes into contact with. So that could be a customer, it could be a member of the public. Imagine a building site where you've got people walking past. If people are injured as a result of that building site, that would be covered under the health and safety legislation. So yes, it affects employees, but it affects other stakeholders too, which is why health and safety has got its own separate part of the spec. So what's the aim of health and safety legislation? Well, as it says on the tin, protect the well-being of all stakeholders in a business, right? The employees, the customers, subcontractors, general public, anybody who comes into contact with the business is protected under health and safety legislation, or at least they should be. The key piece of law is the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. And what does that cover? Well, ensuring that a business provides safe equipment and safety clothing to anybody who needs it. That would be employees plus anyone who, visitors to say a building site or something like that would need to have the correct safety clothing provided to them. Ensuring that workers have enough space, a hygienic environment, maintaining temperature and noise levels, protection from hazardous waste. Other threats such as violence, bullying, stress. Ensuring that people have adequate breaks. There's loads of things that the Health and Safety at Work Act cover. All right, you'll be familiar with it at school. If you are in the school, that they've got the yellow cones and, you have fire drills. All of this stuff is covered by the Health and Safety at Work Act. Wearing goggles in the science lab if you're doing an experiment. All of these things, we are surrounded by health and safety at work legislation. So what are the benefits to businesses? Well, businesses should be able to maintain a decent brand image. You're going to have clean and safe premises, and although clean and safe premises doesn't equal great brand image in itself, it at least prevents a poor brand image. So we see those hygiene certificates on restaurants when you go past. We don't necessarily think, oh, brilliant, this restaurant is hygienic. We expect that, but again, it prevents that not happening. That would really damage a business's reputation. So workers can feel protected and safe, which helps motivation, or at least prevents them from being demotivated. Okay, if workers don't feel safe at work, they're certainly not going to be motivated to work hard. So that's a benefit. You should increase the amount of time that people are at work if they're not getting injured. All right, so people who are off sick through stress or injury are not productive. Whereas if you've got your workforce in all the time, those workers across the period of a year can be really, really productive. They're making loads of output because they're in all the time. But there are obvious costs to businesses. They need to prepare health and safety policies. That's time consuming. There's an opportunity cost. They need to pay people for that. There's the cost of the health and safety equipment that they need to invest in, which can be very expensive if you're, if you're very high tech, working with dangerous machinery, etc. That can be a significant cost. You're going to need to train your staff. That's a cost. You're going to need to practice procedures. So, when a school has a fire alarm, all right, literally everybody is outside not learning anything. All right, the business equivalent to that is everybody being outside, not producing any output because you're practicing the health and safety routine, and that comes with an opportunity cost to businesses. So benefits and costs to be aware of. And again, health and safety law, yes, it affects employees, but it also affects any stakeholder coming into contact with the business.